Welcome to episode number 3 of Change of Plans podcast. I am Joe Aguirre. He is Vin Provenzano. And Vin, first couple episodes in the books. So far, so good. I think we're all right. I think we've settled into a pretty good good
groove
routine here. We know what we're doing. I've been pretty impressed with that. We've both kind of shared our backstory a little bit. Although it's funny because I actually do have another story, but I don't want to tell it in this episode. But
you're teasing it. You're just teasing it out there. I like that.
I'm a radio guy. That's what we do. We're always just teasing things. But because I do have a fascinating story that was not relationship based. Actually, tested my relationship. Not like it sounds, but I'll tell that story at some point. And it's an interesting one, and I think it's one that people will be able to relate to, put it to you like that. But this episode is about friendships.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most overlooked things for a lot of guys. And we were talking before the show here about, you see those TikTok videos where, guys don't have someone, generally speaking, that they rely on, that they spill the beans to. Women do that, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of get into kind of why we put ourselves in that situation. We're going to kind of break down the friend groups. You said this just a few minutes ago, and I thought it was brilliant, but there's limited amount of space in
your
the house. I think that was brilliant.
Like it's so I was, I listen to a bunch of podcasts, TikToks, all this stuff. Some of the TikToks I can't repeat on here, but I think, and I just wanted to point out, I changed my moniker back to my name. I didn't want to be the man, the myth, the legend. I figured, that might be a little too presumptuous for like 3 episodes in. So, but I think for guys like us that have very limited time in life, meaning that we're not going to die anytime soon, knock on wood, let's hope not. But just in our day, there's 24 hours in a day. You're working a bunch of jobs, a bunch of shifts at the radio station, doing the podcast, doing the school. I'm running around with the lawyer stuff, trying to get this business up and running, dog rescue, kids and stuff like that. And, we look around and we're like, oh man, I didn't talk to this guy. I didn't talk to this person. Where are my friends? Or you get that text message that you don't respond to. And, so I was thinking in the terms of a house, and I heard this from someone else, and I thought it was a great concept. So we all have our house, right? And, the main parts of the house are your windows, doors, and floors, right? And so we all have different groups of friends. And I think we're afraid to identify what type of friend X person is, right? Because we can't all be best friends. We can't all be, this is my good friend. He's my bestest friend ever. I mean, I think there's a bunch of research done where it's like, if you spent 40 hours with a person, right? Like me and you, Joe, if we spend 40 hours together, we're a casual friend, right? You spend 100 hours with someone that is a friend. And your best friend is going to be 200 plus hours, right? And you only have so much hours in a day. So, for example, you'll have your window friends, right? And this is what I love about this house concept. You have your window friends. Those are the friends that are looking into your life, right? They see what's going on, but they don't know what's really going on in your life. They see it from afar. Those are your friends. Like on Facebook, you hear the happy birthday wishes on your post, on your wall. And then like clockwork on October 19, 2025 or 24, they're going to be on the wall again, which I appreciate, right? You appreciate that people are taking the time out to wish you that Merry Christmas. But those are kind of your window friends, but it's okay to have those friends, right? You'll get some people who say, why do people bother? But remember, you could only fit so many people in your house, right? Like, and that's kind of the concept of it, where you have, your friends that we call them the door friends, right? Depending on the weather, depending on the temperature, they're in your life and they come out of your life. They go back into your life, right? It's like a revolving door, and it's not, people are like, well, they're never always here for me. They only here for me sometimes. But once again, you got to go back to maybe they weren't equipped to helpful in that situation, right? But the
Yep.
situations they were with you in, they were equipped to deal with that. It's kind of like different seasons, right? Sometimes they have the clothes to deal with that season, and sometimes they don't. But once again, you can't fit everybody in your house. And the ones that are your floor, those are your friends. Those are your ride or dies, right? No matter what happens, your foundation is there. You can walk across your floor in muddy shoes, and those friends are is eating that fucking mud, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I think it's important to have those discussions and kind of almost do an audit of your friend. Like, what are your friends, right? Like, go to home, write a list of, I'm friends with Bob, Jeff, like whoever it is, and kind of put them into those categories, right? Because then now you know what you're dealing with. Because I can tell you, I'm the first offender. Someone may text me, that I haven't talked to in months, and I'm like, oh, I'll get to it, right? Like, but then I'm too busy, right? So now I'm that window friend, and then I feel bad that I'm not the 200-hour friend,
Yep.
right? But it's okay to be that window friend sometimes, So I think we all have those people in life, and you can't, I think we tend to get mad, right? Especially guys, right? Like you said, like the girls have their buddies, their wine friends. Like, I'm gonna go talk all my problems to, and sometimes it's we want to call this person, this guy, and he's like, I'm too busy, or I'm working, or no, what, you don't want to go out for a drink, you just want to talk, forget about it, right? Like, we don't have that, but
Right.
we probably do. We just don't know which one of them to call. Like, know who your floor is, know who the doors are, know who the windows are, right? Because now you can maximize your time, your limited time already, to spend it with those floor people, right? And sometimes you need those door people. And if you're able to identify, okay, for example, Dave's a door friend, right? But I know he was great in this particular situation. I'm in this situation again. You know what? I'm going to call Dave. You know
Yep.
what? And that might be a situation where your floor friend, Frank, who's always there, but he didn't deal with it the same way Dave did. So, I mean, I think if you're identifying those things, I think that helps you kind of navigate your life a little bit, especially in situations where you need that ear, you need that, and sometimes you just need that person to send you a text, hey, hope all is well, right? Send back, hey, was just thinking about you, hope your family's well, and the conversation can end there, and that's fine because that's your relationship. So I think I was listening a lot about that this week, and it really kind of hit home because my time is limited, and I'm always feeling bad because I'm not hanging around with X, Y, and Z. I don't have time for this friend, or why does this person not want to hang out so much? And you know what? It's okay. So I thought it was a kind of cool concept to kind of spin off of today, especially in this day and age where everyone's maximizing. I got 1 million followers on Instagram. I got 300 friends on Facebook, right? But that we use that word friend like so loosely.
Oh,
Like
so devalued at this point.
it is, right? It's if you really look at that 40 hours, 100 hours, and 200 hours, and then go through your Rolodex of people, you know how many casual acquaintances, like their name, but they're not your friend, which is fine. It's okay to say, hey, yeah, I know Dave, good dude, but he's not my friend, right? Like, you don't gotta go tell people that because then you're kind of a dick, right? You're
Yeah.
like, you're like,
I know this
motherfucker,
guy. He's
yeah,
not my friend.
this guy's not my fucking friend. But like in your head, you can be like, okay, that he is what he is for me, right? But I think we have devalued that, and just to know your thoughts on that. I mean, especially coming from the social media, like we didn't grow up with this stuff, right? Like when we had friends, it's like I'm going to hang out with Jeff and Dave down the street, like we had like actual like human being, like I could touch my friend, like a poke him in his fucking head, like right now, like right, like you just
Yeah.
smacked a kid. Now, like you got to like someone's photo and hope they accept you as a friend, and then all of a sudden you're friends.
Yeah, it's funny. I knew this kid in high school. He was a couple years behind me, and he was best friends with my girlfriend's brother. So I kind of knew him casually, and I thought he was an idiot. He was a little bit younger and did a lot of stupid stuff, right? we're friends on Facebook, and kid comments on my stuff a lot. This has been going on for years. Huge Yankees fan. I do a Yankees podcast. He's always watching it, chiming in. We started talking. We've been going to games together. Literally get on the train, go to the Bronx. It's an interesting relationship. Like at one point, I looked at him. We were at a game a couple of years ago, and I looked at him. I go, dude, if you would have told me 20 years ago that you and I would go on a train ride together to Yankee Stadium, I never would have believed it. I have a guy I went to grade school with for about 3 years. And I've run into this guy just around the way. He does IT, and I've run into him at some events, handful of times. Friends on Facebook, another huge baseball fan. A guy who I liked, didn't know him that well, didn't know him for that long. So, it's to say there's a lot of those window people, you know, and those are good. And there's some value in those. I really think there's some good value in those. And then looking at the door people, again, it's the window shrinks on that. It's like a lot less people are that kind of friend. But the foundation people, man, those are the important ones, because those are the ones, when you really need somebody. Put it like this. My brothers, I have two brothers, one older, one younger. We've never really all been super tight. Okay.
Yep.
Really fickle relationship with those guys. And I mean, they're my brothers. I love them, but never been able to rely on them. And I have like an inner group of best friends that I've been hanging out with since my divorce in 2008. Met this team of softball guys. We don't even play softball anymore, but there's 4 guys in that group that if I called them right now, they all live in Wallingford. I live in Weathersfield. They would be here in 40 minutes. If I called them up and was like, hey, I need you, 40 minutes later, they'd be ringing my doorbell. And those are the friends I obviously value the most.
Yeah.
And like, those are like, I always say, the brothers I chose.
Yeah, they're your floor friends.
Yeah.
Like, and just like how you as it dwindles down, I like to compare it to, like, not so much in American currency, but in a lot of foreign currencies, like the bigger the coin, the less the value, right? Like you'll see these coins and you're like, oh my God, that, like, it looks like a quarter compared to a dime, but that dime is worth more.
Yeah.
Right. Like your circle of friends, the society judges you on how big your circle is, but that doesn't give you the value of that friendship. Right. So the higher your value, usually the smaller the group of friends that zone is. Right. Because you can't give 100% of yourself to 100 friends. You can give 100% of yourself to 4 friends. Like I always, I tell my stepson that if you got a handful of friends at the end of the day, if you're 40, 45 years old and you got 4 or 5 dudes you could call up at 3 a.m. I mean, my friends aren't going to get up at 3 a.m. I don't care if they're fucking floorboards, right? I think they tapped me off at like 11 p.m. I saw some shit on TikTok. This guy's like, if I call my friends at 3 a.m, they're fucking grabbing their guns and shoveling. They know we got to bury a body. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to be that friend. Right? Like, that's never going to be me. You're going to call me, like, we got to bury a body. I'm calling the cops. Like, motherfucker. Yeah. So if any of my friends are going to watch this podcast and think I'm that guy who's going to come bury a body, just scroll right past my fucking name on your cell phone.
You're an officer of the court. You really can't do that. I mean,
I don't give a fuck if I was working at Ocean State Job Lot, bro.
I'm still not doing it.
I'm not fucking burying a body, dude. I'm not built for that shit. I'm not. I will always be a door friend. Then just put me under. Solid. Yeah, listen. I'm there sometimes, just not when you're burying bodies, right?
This is helpful for all the people that think you're the foundation. They know full well now.
Nah, I'm a door.
Like, dude, I'm in serious trouble here, Vin. And you're like, don't tell me anything more. I don't want to.
Nah, I'm a fucking door. I don't know if I'm ever. I don't know if I'm ever going to be a floorboard. I might be one of those ones you can kind of move around a little bit like a mat. Like I'll be a mat. But I think but I think it's okay to have those conversations. And I know I have, if I look back at like when I was going through my divorce, I had a certain set of friends, right? Get together, guide night every Wednesday, cigar, fire pit. Um, shit, I haven't done that in like 2 years. And I'm not angry about it because it was what I needed at the time.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
It was, and it's okay to accept that. It doesn't always have to be, we're the best of friends. And then you have those friends where I know I have a friend I haven't seen in 3 years. I know if we ran into each other, we just hit it off. Right. Like,
Yep.
but it's being okay with where you're at in your social circle, not comparing the two. I think I used to be that person that would try to force the friendship, right? But I think you have to learn that, people are going to want to make time for you who want to be with you, right?
Yes. Big time.
And if someone says, "Hey, I'm too busy. I got too busy. Couldn't call you back." Don't force the issue. They're probably telling you the truth, to be honest with you, right? Like don't make time. Don't make them the priority when you're the option. And I think that's always something I struggle with because I'm a social butterfly. I love being around fucking people. Like I don't like being by myself. I could go run around, do what I need to do, like by myself, but I like being around people. So it's like I used to pick up the phone. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And then people will be too busy, and I'm just as guilty of it. I might be the worst offender of all of them because I have friends that reach out to me just to check on me, and it's fucking 3 days later I text them like a douchebag. And like, listen, I might be that door guy, I might be that window guy, and I don't want to be. I don't think anyone intentionally wants to be that friend.
Right.
But that goes back to, it's okay to say, hey, you know what, with this person, this is our relationship. And to acknowledge that, I think it helps me like have a smoother, more fulfilling life because now like I don't feel bad about that. And I know these are the 4 or 5 that I know I'm gonna make a priority because they're making me a priority. Right. Like, and so if I have an hour on the weekend, I don't have to worry about which 15, 20 friends I'm going to call. Right. I know I can call X, Y, and Z and text these other 15, say, hey, hope all is well, and we're good. And I think that helps, right? And I think that you're not focused on the superficial relationships, right? Like the ones that you could just have fun with, right? Those are, you have your fun friends, your vacation friends, like, but are those the raw and real friends? I think that's what guys need, is that raw, real, friend. That person, like, no matter what, you could talk to about anything, and they're not going to clown you for being soft, or they're not going to clown you because, oh, dude, just get over the shit. I know I had a really now he's one of my best friends, and we went through a divorce together. Like, lived down the hall in the same apartment, and
Oh,
I
wow.
knew him because I knew his brother. I was best friends with his brother, and I just, through knowing his brother, I knew him. But I was so fucking bad. I remember when his name is Matt. He'll probably watch this and give me the finger later. But I remember he had called, and he was just like, "Dude, my wife's leaving me," and he's crying, like he's in touch with his shit. And I'm like, "Stop being a pussy. Haha, you're a bitch. You're crying." And 2 days later, I call him. I'm like, "Bro, my wife's leaving
Oh.
me." It's like, "Ha, bitch."
Oh,
And it
jeez.
was so bad because he had called me and he was like, "I found this dope apartment in Middletown, and they have one that's like 8 square feet bigger." And that's big in a little fucking apartment. I'm like, "Dude, cool. Let me go see if they got one available." And I went and got that apartment he was looking at, like, within a half hour, bro. And I'm like, "Bro, got it." And
Oh
then
my
we
god.
ended up like, living, like, there was me, a guy who was sadder than both of us, and us. It was like a suicide fucking ward, right? It just, we weren't high enough where anyone was jumping. Like, when they're like, "You go on the 5th floor because you'll survive that. We're not going to have any jumpers in this fucking building." but 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 I think it gave us, like, we were able to, like, he was that guy I could go down the hall and talk to about fucking anything, right? and I am super blessed to have those friends. And they know who they are. They, like but it's nice to know that like if I have some time, I don't have to worry about offending anyone. I'm just gonna go and this is who, this is who I could go spend my time with. Um, so it's I think it's something that people should invest time in, kind of do an audit. I'm a big into auditing things in your life, and I think that's one thing we all should start with. Is know your time is the most valuable thing, and part of that time is yes, your family, but most importantly, your friends. And like, who are your actual friends, right? Like, who are your floors, who are your doors, and who are your windows? And it's not a bad thing to have a conversation with your friends, or just that you don't gotta tell them, "Hey, dude, you're a fucking door." Your friend, your friend might say, "What?"
Let me ask you this: do you have a part of the house for people who? And I'm not. This isn't something I'm dealing with, but you ever met somebody and you want to be friends with that person, and you're like making like max effort to do that, and they're not necessarily. I mean, they're reciprocating, but not at the pace you're looking for. What would you call somebody like that?
I think once again, I mean, it's probably it's probably a window, to be honest with you, and then that window could become a door, and that door could become a floor. But I think that goes back again to if that person is treating you as an option and not a priority, like that's not on them either, right? Like that's on you, right? Because they may not look at you like, hey, I want to be best friends with Joe, right? They don't. They may just say, "Hey, it's cool. We can hang out, have a beer every once in a while. I'll touch base. You're a cool dude to hang with every once in a blue moon." And in my head, I'm like, dude, I want to be. And that I'm guilty of that, dude. I want to be best friends with fucking everybody. I'm like a fucking lap dog. I'm not gonna sit on your lap, but like, like everyone I'm around, they're like, dude, you talk to everybody, and like I'm just like, dude, I come home. My wife will probably tell you, I probably come home 10 times a week. Yo, I better met somebody, dude. We're gonna be besties. We're gonna be best fucking friends. I got best friends, and then it's like a fucking balloon that just lets out air. That, but it might be me too because I'm a bit much. I'm a tough guy to get in that 200 hours with. I will tell you right now, that 200 hours is gonna be the longest fucking. David Goggins ain't got nothing on me, bro. Fucking 200 hours. So I think but then people will take it personally. I think and that's the problem. Like, there's something wrong with me. Has nothing it would do with you. It's really, you don't know what that other person wants, right? Like, so I think but it's okay. It makes it much better when you're aware of, okay, this person may be that window, right? Or this person, I think that the biggest group, like for me, I think is doors, right? Like I think that's going to be the bulk of your friendships, which are good because you got people who are good at certain things. And that's the way I look at it. I don't say, well, this person wasn't here when I was going through my divorce. Well, maybe they weren't equipped to, right? Like I had friends that couldn't relate to what I was going through. Right. And I was that person when I had friends going through a divorce. I'm like, bro, suck it up. She don't want to be with you. Like, what the fuck, dude? There's a million girls out there. Let's go get it. Right. Yeah. And then when I go through a divorce, I'm a weeping fucking willow, dude. I fucking got Adele steady on my fucking playlist, bro. I had like a fucking Adele, Chris Stapleton, and I'm a hip hop guy, bro. I almost went Taylor Swift, like real crazy. It was bad, but
that's when you're really in touch with your feelings when you're jamming out some
you're just you have your divorce playlist. You get like that what's that guy Caleb Scott? Dude, that's me and my buddy's go-to. That comes on, bro. We're standing in the corner by ourselves. But I think the that just got carried away. But I remember even I had friends during that period that I don't necessarily talk to all that much now. But then if you would have asked me, I would have said, hey, these guys are my floor, right? If you would have asked me, this crew, male or female, these people are my floor. But now that I look back, they were a door. They were in and out, but they were there for a reason. And I think that's the best way to assess your friendships. It's okay for them to come and go, and allow them to do that, because once again, it has nothing to do with you. It's just usually the people aren't equipped to deal with what you're going through. And sometimes you just don't need them in that particular spot or that season of the year.
Right. So I met this dude like a year and a half ago, and we met through work, but he didn't work there. He was sort of like a third party vendor, I guess would be the best way to describe this. And there was some smoking. That's how we first sort of connected.
Yep.
And then as we were talking, a lot of our views lined up and then we found out we were both big boxing fans. Like, oh, we should go do this, we should go check this out. This guy, and he's a great dude, I really like this guy. I don't know if he doesn't believe me because I don't have a lot of time.
Yep.
And this is a dude that hits me up often. It just hit me up a little bit earlier, accusing me of ghosting him. And it's like, bro, I haven't had 5 minutes today to respond to a text. Just it's what you want right now is not that, it's not that important. And it you know what I mean? And I feel bad because I'm like, I know this dude values my friendship and I appreciate that. He's a very needy friend. And there's going to be, and I don't mean that even in a negative way.
No, but but you have those. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if I had the time, bro, I call you right now and we would bullshit for like 2 hours, but I'm in the middle of 8 things right now and I can't. I guess here's sort of what I'm saying. I think this is one of those things where the people have expectations in a friendship, right? And some people are not as okay with the in and out, the people that are in the door, out the door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've never been that way. I'm the kind of guy where, I have a lot of friends where haven't talked in a while. Again, pick up the phone and we'll hang out tomorrow, like that, and it would be super cool and fun. They have lives. A lot of my friends now obviously are, I'm sure you have the same situation where they have families. And
correct. Yep.
And as the kids are getting older too, now the kids have lives and they're managing the kids' lives and the kids' extracurriculars and everything that goes along with that. People have less time. And it's like you try to make time for the people that are important to you, which is, and you hope that you're included when those people like, hey, let's all get together. You don't want to be the one left out of that, right? But I think being able to have the kind of relationships that can just sort of sit there and simmer, they're fine. You don't need to tend to that thing every 5 minutes and stir it. That's my favorite kind of friendship. The one where when the situation is right, I can call on that person. And if it's been a week, 6 months, or a year, it's like, oh, dude, yeah, I'm down for tonight. Let's go.
And that's the floor friend, though, right? Like, so I don't want people getting confused that it's like your floor friends you got to spend all this time with, right? Like, it's your friendship is not measured by the hours you're logging, right? The steps you're fucking taking together, right? Like, it is over time, right? You're not gonna, fucking. Like for me, for example, I went to like a hat store in New Haven, right? I like to wear these big fucking hats, look like Cam Newton, but I clearly not Cam Newton. So being a fucking white guy, I walk into the store, I'm a little self-conscious, right? I'm like, I don't know if I can pull this fucking thing off, right? And sure shit, there's a dude there, and he's like, bro, it's not the hat, it's the person who makes the hat. And I'm like, dude, this guy's my fucking spirit animal. I'm like, this guy has. I literally like 2 days later, I'm out with his wife and dinner in fucking New Haven, and I'm like, yo, we're back at it. We're gonna be fucking best friends. No, like, every once in a while, like pop in, whatever, right? But I didn't, and it happened because you didn't get those steps, you didn't get those hours for whatever reason, and it's not a bad thing. That's just life. But those good friends, if you look back, you're going to say, listen, I had 200 hours with these people over a stretch of my life, right? So now I could go 6 months without seeing the dude and pick up where I left off. Those are your floor friends. It's not about like the time now. And I think that's where people get hurt, right? Like that's where people are like, oh man, we used to spend every weekend together, or we used to do shit every Thursday. But dude, we're 44, right? A lot of my friends are 35, 36. They have babies, they have kids. Like me now, I'm running around with sports, right? Like you got 75 cats and kids and like dogs you don't even know you have, right? They just fucking, oh shit, new pet, right? Like people stealing your ham sandwiches, right? Like we don't have all that time, and that's okay, but you have to understand that. And I think also too, going back to, your friend who's like, listen, you're ghosting me. I think it's okay for you to be comfortable enough to say, listen, this is the type of friend for me, right? Like he may be trying to get you to be a floor friend. Maybe that happens someday, but it's okay to say, hey, listen, it's when I have the time, I'm definitely gonna reach out to this dude. But like, I'm not gonna force this, right? Like we have those friends that are options, right? Like that's just the reality of it. That's why you have these categories of friends. But to be comfortable enough to say it to yourself, you don't want to say it to your friend, right? Like no one's be like, bro, you're an option. Like I'll fucking get to you when I get to you. Like, it's kind of a dick thing to say. I mean, that's aggressive, but I think it's okay for people to evaluate it and know, all right, like this is what I want. This is what I want out of my friendships. This is the time I have. And now let me look at my friendship pie and say, okay, this is what I want to spend most of my time with. Because those floor friends are going to be your fun friends, right? But they're also going to be your ride or dies. Like they're your steady eddies, right? Like, and sometimes you need that door friend that like, yo, I'm going to go wild tonight, casino, door friend. This guy is good for that, right? But I think that it's an evaluation that everybody needs to do. And maybe even like you have friends, and I think it even goes into family members, to be honest with you. I think we get so caught up in, well, this is my aunt, or this is my mom, or these are my dad, and these labels instead of relationships, right? Like, and that's why people throw friend around so much, but not instead of thinking about the relationship. And if you actually thought about the relationship, would that be your friend, right? Like, me, for example, I haven't talked to my dad in 2 years for a variety of reasons, which we'll probably get into later. And people are like, well, that's your father. You should talk to him. And yes, by label, he's my father. Grew up, he was a great dad to me. Things fell off, but I don't look at it now as like I'm missing a father figure, because I have those relationships in my life where no one's gonna replace my biological dad, but like the relationship aspect of it, I have that, right? So I think that's, if you're looking at any relationship in your life, it's don't define it by the title, whether it's friend, family member, define it by your actual relationship and time. Like, would you want to spend 200 hours with that person? That's what I do. Like, if I could sit back and say, hey, you know what? I want to spend 200 hours with Joe, then boom, we're gonna put in the time, right? And sometimes you see someone like, you know what? I probably would like to spend 100 hours with that person, or 40 hours, or 7 minutes, right? Like the 7 minute guy's a douchebag. Like you got to be a real douche for me to want to spend 7 minutes. But I think like if you're looking at, do I want to spend 40 hours? Could I do that? All right. Yeah, it would be kind of that window friend, right? The 100 hours, that's that door friend. That 200 hours, that like you're just gonna sit there forever with that dude. That's gonna be your floor friends, right? And it's okay to say that out loud.
Yeah. So my brother and I, my older brother, always had a weird relationship. Okay. I noticed just a few years back, there was something I noticed about my favorite sports teams as a kid: the Yankees, the New York Giants, and the New York Knicks.
I gotta go, bro. Like I can't. I don't even want this conversation. We would not have hung out. You would have been the 40-hour fucking person in my life back then.
So get
Just letting you
this.
know.
My brother's favorite teams: the Cowboys, the Mets, and the Celtics.
Mm.
And it didn't occur to me until much later in my life when I was like, he picked the arch rival
on purpose
to all of the teams that I liked. He wasn't even a big sports fan, but those were the teams he followed. Those were the teams he liked. And it's like, he picked those to sort of get at me. Like, that's
100%.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we've never, we went about 4 or 5 years. He was married to he's still married to a person who I hate. There's just, I've tried, and
you said still married, right?
Yeah, still married.
All right, good.
It's funny that one of the last times my brother and I had talked, we're talking currently, we've been talking for about a year now. But for the previous 4 years, we weren't talking at all, because the last thing I said to him was, if you ever want to leave your wife, you're welcome to come crash at my place. And I was really hoping he would, and he decided he loved his wife and stayed with her. But all through the silent period, my dad, who's a wonderful fella, 75 years old, my dad said, he's your brother. Give him a call. Why? I don't want to. I don't enjoy spending time with him, and especially with his wife. Why you want me to subject myself to like this energy I don't like and don't want to be around? Because, as you said, with the labels, like, that's your brother. I don't care. I had a heart attack last year. Obviously a lot of people reached out at that time, including my brother. And we've steadily been talking for the last year. I think the idea of me dying, my brother probably thought to himself, we haven't spent 200 hours together in our entire lives. Maybe now's the time. And so, we've got the best relationship we've ever had.
Yep.
And it's a dude, I grew up with. We shared a room for like 12 years. And it's funny, when I talk to him now, I still wouldn't rely on him for anything. We haven't gotten to that point where, because this dude let me down a lot.
So is he? If we're gonna look at the categories, is he a window guy right now?
Yes,
he's a window guy, right? But maybe with time he becomes that door, or maybe not. Like, it might be like too much, but it sounds like you're happy with him being the window right now.
I'll put it to you like this. I mean, he's my brother. I've never felt any, because like you said before with the labels, and I'd be curious when we get into the story about you and your dad and whatever happened there. Again, to me, it's like, people who want to be with me and spend time with me and bring me into their lives, they're not my blood.
Yeah.
But what does it matter? I value those relationships a lot, and I put time and effort into those because of that.
And I think that's you hit the nail on the head, right? Like, so I got a sister 4 years younger. We've had our, hey, we don't talk, we talk, like, we're super close. Like, even when we didn't talk, she's my sister, and it wasn't just because she's my sister. It's just that was our relationship. There was never been a time where, like, we could have had the not talk for a year, but she could have called me and big brother's coming, and vice versa. But my family dynamic is very unique in that my grandmother had 16 kids, 8 boys, 8 girls.
Okay.
But yeah, big old family. And my sister was like the 9th sister to these ladies, just given the age dynamic. And I was super close to both my mom's side and my dad's side, but I learned at a young age, I kept everyone kind of for who they are, right? Like, I'm at an arm's distance, like, their family. I love my family. I like all the dynamic personalities, but I'm not a brother or not a sister, where my sister was really like, she had the picture of, this is what family's supposed to be. No matter what happened, this is what family is. Like, whether they talk shit about you, like, they didn't approve me, I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm making them the priority, even though I may be an option. And it all came to, and it's been like this for, my sister's 40 since she's been born. And I've always been the guy that, even since I was a kid, you cross me, I'm writing you off. Like I don't give a shit. Like no matter what, you get one shot with me, and I'm like, I'm out. Right? I take you for who you are. I read people right away, and it is what it is. But it all came to a head where me and my dad are not talking, and then he goes after my sister because he knows he can't get to me. Right? So he's gonna get after my sister, and my sister's having a tough time there. She was daddy's girl, right? That was in her head. And so my sister gets married to this great guy. It's her second marriage. And the family has a meeting. And basically, there was an ultimatum put out: you go to my sister's wedding, you're not part of the family. I think my
Wow.
sister probably got like 40 declines. Right. So I had a
Okay.
wedding when no Provenzano was there. But I will tell you the best thing that came out of it: she saw what I had been seeing for years.
Yep.
Right. She finally realized it's the labels of aunt, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, all of this stuff are just labels. What you look at is the relationships, right? And it doesn't have to be blood, right? It just doesn't. Like it's not about, well, that's my blood relative. Yes, you're always gonna be my relative by blood, but like I have family that doesn't have my last name because of the relationships. And
Right.
it took her a long time to get there, but I will tell you, she is so much better off as a person realizing that. And that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right? Like it doesn't feel good not to have a relationship with your dad or your brother or anyone in your family. Like no one ever wants that. But it's okay to make yourself the number one priority, right? And to be comfortable with the relationships you're curating in your house and to say, okay, it's okay for my brother to be the window, right? I mean, who wouldn't want like a big brother to be best friends with, right? Like, come on, like if you're thinking you're writing a fucking story out, but you know what? Sometimes that's just not in the cards, and it's the fact that you guys are talking now, like, is a big step, right? Like and you're like, it is what it is. He's the window person, but and I'm fine with that 'cause it's better than having nothing at this
Yeah.
point. Um, but yeah, like I think acknowledging what that friend's value brings to you, your life, that intrinsic value.
You
Not
know,
like you could say I have a friend, but the value they add to you.
yeah. The interesting thing with my brother is if he wasn't my brother, I wouldn't be talking to him now.
Yeah,
There would, right? Because he's blood, because he's my brother, and because he reached out and we sort of reconnected. The only reason he's getting a shot because I'm like you.
yeah,
You fucked me once. One of my favorite things to do on this planet is to literally block somebody out of my entire life. Just to block you on every platform. Smell, filter out your emails, block your text, like you're done, and I'll never talk to you again. And that makes me feel good. And I know that that probably hurts that person, and that's how I get back at them. I've never been a retread guy.
yeah.
If we, my first ever girlfriend, we broke up in high school and then we dated for a little bit in college. And I realized then, terrible idea, right? This relationship was bad in the first place. It
Well,
wasn't going to get any better a
the
second
sequel,
time.
the sequel is never better than the first, unless it's Top Gun 2. Top Gun 2.
There you go.
Yeah,
So again, if my brother wasn't my brother,
correct.
he would have texted me, "Hey, I heard you're in the hospital. I hope you're all right," and I probably wouldn't even have responded. The fact that he was but I guess my point is, I think people who are blood related probably have the advantage, right? It's like, I
Yeah,
don't owe you a relationship. I don't owe you friendship, but as you're born and you're hanging around the cousins and the aunts and the
yeah,
uncles,
yep.
they have an opportunity to be close to you. And I know a lot of people super close to their cousins, and I love that. I really
Yeah.
do. I'm jealous of people that are like that. I mean, again, I have 4 children. My oldest is 22, and the idea of spending holidays with my brother's wife, I didn't enjoy it before I had kids. Then I had little kids, and we used to go there, and then I remember just thinking, I hate spending time with her. Why would
So,
I make my kids do this too?
well,
And that ultimately is what ended up ending our relationship.
well, it's protecting your happiness, right? And so I'll just tell you like just a quick background because it's right in line with your brother and his wife. So I was getting married, right, to my lovely wife, and we're having a surprise wedding at my house. So we're doing a little housewarming party, inviting like 20 people. Everyone thinks it's like a barbecue, and we're flipping it into a wedding, right? So that's kind of how we got married. Well, that's how we got married.
Wow.
And I hope we got married. It'd be weird. So my mom's coming. My mom's a handful of person. She's like 4'2" and could smash a beer bottle on your head if she gets a little frisky. She's French, you never can't really trust those like Canadian French people. So I'm on the phone with my pops, and it's crazy because like I was always pretty close with my dad, like especially growing up. Like my dad did all the baseball, tennis, did all the dad shit, worked 3 jobs, like instilled that hard work, like fucking provided for the family. Lousy husband. My mom wasn't a great wife either, but great parents, right? Like whatever. So I'm on the phone. My dad is engaged to the woman across the street, meaning that like right directly across the street from where we grew up, she was the other lady, right? Like not yeah, it's a bit awkward, right? So anyways, and I'm like, well, my mom's coming. I'm like, yo, pops, like this is what's going down. Want you to come, but can't bring fucking Margaret. I'll say her name because I don't fucking like the bitch.
Right.
Yeah, and
Fuck
he ain't gonna
you
watch
too,
this.
Debbie.
Yeah, she don't like me either. Do we? I got like we'll tell the story. I got some crazy stories about her, but anyways, so I didn't say it like that, but I'm like, listen, like my mom's coming. Like out of respect for my mom, I want you to be there, but you got to bring her. You got to leave her home. Like, and this lady's been at my house. I'm not a big fan of her. I've told her that, like for a variety of reasons. But hey, if that's my dad's girl and he wants to bring her over, fine. I'm gonna tolerate it, but not on this fucking night. Like this night, I'm protecting my happiness. So he's like, that's fucked up, all this stuff. And I'm like, it's my house, my rules. Which one is the best thing you could say to a parent? I've been waiting 40 something fucking years to say that fucking line, right? But I'm like, listen, like it's about me being happy, enjoying my fucking night. And like out of respect, like if he would have just said, hey, I understand I'm not coming for these reasons, cool. We could have that disagreement. I'm gonna be fine. Dude, no showed. Fucking no showed. Like he was in Cromwell that morning. Fucking never talked to him again. Ever.
Wow. Yeah,
Fucking
well,
ever. But it
doesn't
was
deserve
what
it.
no, and I'm not the guy who's gonna reach out. Like it's just not like you said your piece. This is what you did after all this shit went down, and I don't need to go into it. But it was that I'm protecting my happiness. Like like so. Okay, you're with this person. I don't have to have a relationship with that person to have a relationship with you. If you want to make it that way, that is fine. But I was comfortable enough in my belief of like my house is like my haven, right? Like I protect my happiness at all costs, and there's only so many people I could allow in my house before that I can't keep that fucking happiness anymore. I can't control that, and it's okay. Like it's okay to say, you know what, I'm not going to that Christmas party because I don't like my brother's wife, right? Because
Yeah.
I only have so many Christmases with my kids,
Right.
right? Like we don't have an infinite number of fucking get-togethers. So, and you could only hope that the other person on the other side of that understands it. And it does, you have to acknowledge, yes, that may hurt that person. And if you can't understand that, then you're just an asshole of a human being. Like I know my dad would be mad, but in my head, it's like, well, like you're my dad, right? Like you got to respect my relationships and what I'm trying to build. Like me, I going through my divorce, I can't ask my dad for advice on how to handle the fucking divorce. Like you filed for divorce 6 months before my first wedding. Like that's a little fucking weird. You waited 30 years. You could have hang out a couple more fucking months. But like
Right.
but I didn't need my dad for that, right? Like I didn't need I didn't need my parents for advice a lot. That just wasn't our relationship. Even when I was growing up, like kind of figured shit out. But the to realize that okay, he's my dad, but he doesn't want that relationship. We don't have that relationship. I think that was the tough part, realizing that your dad is a window, right? Like that's a tough one, like that was I think that was the toughest part of it is realizing that like sometimes you think you have that floor, right? Like, and it's not even a door, it's a fucking window. But to keep trying to force it, and that's where my sister went through with, you know, a lot of these people were doors or windows, and she thought they were all the floor, and then she realized, it's not. But once you realize it, shit's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler in life because then you're just protecting your happiness, right? Um, so I just thought I thought it was like an interesting conversation to have in this day and age. I hope it's helpful to like for people listening. You could leave this podcast and just sit back and think, but like, you know what? Let me go through my cell phone. Let me go through my contacts. Like how many like I probably have 800 numbers in there. Like, and if like a contact list and a cell phone could collect dust, like 90% of that shit would be fucking 8 inches like thick, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And it's just, I started doing last week was just paring down my contact list, like watching a football game. And I'm just like, it's almost like unsubscribing to emails. That's what right?
Yeah.
Like you're just unsubscribing to friendships. I just thought of that. And that sounds fucking great, dude. Like
That's the name of this episode. Unsubscribing.
unsubscribing to friendships, dude. That is damn, man. I gotta retype my name in here to
You're so funny.
you know but yeah, I think it's something that it doesn't a lot. I'm having trouble talking, but I think it's a good thing to think about. And it's a something of it's almost like cleaning out like that closet. Just like, all right, let me get rid of some shit. It's not physical shit, but it's that mental shit that sometimes weighs on you, right? Like, and then the other thing is sometimes just send a high text to people, right? Hey, hope all is well, and leave it alone, right? Because we don't do that enough either. I went through a thing. I did for maybe like 6 months. I would text someone new every day. Hope all is well. Just
That's
like
awesome.
whoever just like pop in mind. But then once again, it became a fucking window and just stopped doing it because we get busy, which is okay. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good topic to discuss. Um, I think that goes right in line with the change of plans, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah.
take a look at those friends, and sometimes you thought you had this one plan with this one friend. You thought that friend was a floor, and that person's a window, right? And then you're able to decide: do I want to make them a priority, or do I want to make the people who are actually my floor my priority because I have such limited fucking time?
It's funny you said I do the same thing, the periodic clear the contacts list. And you
Yep.
start going through and you're like, "Oh my god. I remember hanging out with this person like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What happened?" You don't even say sometimes you don't even know what happened. It's just like, "Oh," and then we just I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
sometimes like nothing happened, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Like it was good for what it was,
Yep.
right? Like it's that girl in college. Like, it was good, but then it just fizzled out. Like
Yeah.
and it's okay. Like for people to have to try to force these relationships. Like, but it's also okay to say, hey, I'm just checking in, hope all is well, and keep it moving. But I think doing cleaning the contact list is it's nice. It's like getting rid of luggage, just that shit in the attic that just sits there all fucking day, and you go up there and rage out because your attic's too small, and then you yell at your wife, and then you want to burn your house. I mean, that was my life. Never mind. That shit was yesterday. Ugh.
Funny thing, my last thought of this is something else that you said. You talked about, again, kind of laying the law down to your dad, to my house, my rules. And I remember, I want to say this was probably about 5 years ago. My mom's very controlling and has her thumb on my other siblings. They all fall in line. I do not. I'm not a fall in line kind of guy. And she was trying to get me to fall in line. We were having a discussion at my house, and I told her, "You don't I don't do what you say. It's not how this works. And if you don't like my whatever, then you can go." And my father stood up. "You will not talk to your mother that way." I was like, "This is my house. Take this fucking lady and get the fuck out." Okay? That's mean. It's a mean way to speak to your father. I understand that. But I got to tell you, it changed the fucking relationship for the better.
Yeah. Huh?
I laid down the law. This is my house. And we didn't talk for a few weeks there, for sure. There was some hurt feelings. And the first few times after that, if anything, especially politics, came up, my dad was quick to look at him. Don't get him going. I'm like, dude, listen, this is my house. I'm the man here. I'm in charge of this place. Your house is different, but here we're gonna play by my rules. Okay,
Yeah.
cut the shit. Okay, I don't want to disrespect you guys like that, but you have to respect my authority here. You have to respect my sovereignty here. And I think that's super important for people. You got to lay down the law in your relationships. There's a reason people get taken advantage of by people, and it's
Yeah.
because you're putting more into the relationship than you're getting back. And I think kind of what you're saying, a reassessment of the relationships and friendships that you're in. Am I getting back from this person what I'm putting in? And if the
100%.
answer is no, and you're like, you think you're a floor or a door to somebody, and you're like, I'm a window. I'm a
Yeah.
window, and I consider them a floor, but I'm not getting the support beams back on my end. Reevaluate those relationships. It'll be good for your mental health. And I gotta tell you, again, I feel bad saying that to my father. It was super empowering.
It is, and I think I tell people, go build your own house, create your own floors, create your own doors, and put in your own windows, right? Because now you're creating the house. You get to pick your floor, you get to pick your doors, and you get to pick your windows, and you need all of them to have the house. And that's the big thing too. Like you need all of them. You need all of those people, but put your house together how you want to put your house together. And I think your life will be a little bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. Changeofplansct.com. That is the website. You can also find us on social media. Just type in Change of Plans CT. You can find us on all the different social medias. Also, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. We are on all of the apps. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook, where the videos are. But whatever you do, come by and hang out. Put your hours in and make friends with me and Vin. I think that's the key.
I fucking love it. I love it, dude. We 200 hours with us. Let's see if we can do it. That's
200 hours.
That's your challenge for 2024.
Join the 200 club and let Vin and I bring you into our lives.
You get 200 hours, and we'll send you a T-shirt. And we'll be best friends by that time, according to me. So,
by the way, it's funny, at the top of the screen, it's got the on this program we're using to produce this. It says Change of Plans, and whenever I remind send Vin an email later, I refer to this podcast as COP, C-O-P, Change of Plans.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
But I also label them, and it says episode 1, 2, or 3 after it, right? Where this is our third episode, and I was, as you were talking before and kind of laying out the strategy of life, I looked up, it's Change of Plans, EP 3, and I suddenly looked at it and I was like, Cope. C-O-P-E, dude. Cope.
You know what? That's fitting.
That's how I'm going to shorthand it. It was COP, now it's Cope, and it makes so much more sense.
Let's go with Cope too. COP gives me a bad credit with my other clients. Can't fucking do COP, bro. I will have no business tomorrow. None. Zero. I mean, I like the cops, but just hey, I do other things for a living. That is great. I didn't catch that. Look at you.
It hit me. I literally, as you were talking, I kind of glanced up and I'm like, Cope.
Oh,
yeah. So anyway, that is going to do it for this week's episode. Again, chance for you to kind of evaluate things and like I said, empower yourself. Take the reins of these relationships. It is the key, as you say, to happiness is to find your happiness on your own. And then it makes you a much better friend, lover, whatever,
Yep.
you can, if you love yourself and you're happy, you can do that for other people. And that's the thing I think everybody needs to understand. It's got to start with you.
Correct. And we got to make yourself the number one priority, right? It's like being on a plane. Take care of yourself first and everything else falls into place.
Exactly. All right, that is it for episode 3 for Vin Provenzano. I am Joe Aguirre. We will catch you next time on the Change of Plans podcast.